Hello everyone, Nicole here with sugarandscraps.com, and today I'm going to show you the basics of how to make this center step card. It's a lot easier than it looks, but it really makes for an interesting card, and when it sits up it just looks stunning. So this is the one I made for the 3D paper trimmer blog hop for July 2020. If you're watching this on my blog, you have just looked at that post. I'm not going to go into all of the details. I'm just going to make the base of the card so you can see the measurements and understand how to make this, and then I'll give you the layers, the dimensions for the layers as well. So we're not actually making a full card, we're just making the base. But let's go ahead and jump into that. So I'm going to bring my paper trimmer in, and I'm going to, I gotta find my measurements here. So as I said, this card is a lot easier to make than it looks. It looks like a very difficult card to make with all the cuts and the scores, but it's really not. So you are going to start with a piece of cardstock that measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. So your regular card base size. Oh, I think it's time to change my cutting blade. So with that 5.5 inch side at the top of your paper trimmer, you're gonna slide it over to the 1.25 inch mark. So the right side of your card should be lined up with 1.25 inch. I've got my finger here blocking the guide because I'm going to slide my cutting blade up to the 1 inch mark, and that's where we're going to start cutting. So you're going to cut at 1 inch down to 5.25 inches. So you're going 1 inch to 5.25 inches. And you can see that that makes just that little cut line. Next thing you're going to do is slide this over so that the left side of your paper lines up at the 1.25 inch mark. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to start at 1 inch. Oops, I moved my paper there. You're going to start at 1 inch. And you're going to score down to 5.25 inches. Okay. So now you can see we have two cut lines, but they don't go all the way through. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to rotate your card counterclockwise, okay? And you're going to line it up at the 1 inch mark, and we're going to do some scoring. Now, we're only going to do the score lines from the cut line to the edge of the card on both sides. So we don't want to score the whole way through. So sliding the scoring blade up, I'm going to start at my first cut line there, and I'm going to push up. And then I'm going to come down to the other cut line, and I'm going to bring it down. I don't know if you can see, but there my score line just goes from the cut line to the edge. So then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to slide it over to the 2 inch mark. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna line it up with the cut line. We're gonna score away from the cut lines on both sides. So now I have 2 score lines just on the edge of the card. We're gonna bring this over, same edge. We're gonna bring this over to 4 1/4 of an inch. This time we are going to score only in the middle. So you're scoring between the cut lines on this one only. So this is 4 1/4 inches. You're gonna go from cut line to cut line only. And then we're gonna do one more score at the 5 1/4 inch mark. This one's going back to the outside of the cut line only. So you're gonna press down, score out, press down and score out. So there are our 4 sets of score lines, and I'll run through that all again real quick. So starting with your 5 1/2 inch side at the top of your paper trimmer, you're taking that right side to the 1 1/4 inch mark, and you're going to cut from 1 inch to 5 1/4 inches. So 1 to 5 1/4. You're going to slide that paper over so the left side lines up at the 1 1/4 inch mark, and you're cutting from 1 inch to 5 1/4 inches. Once those cut lines are in, you're going to rotate counterclockwise. You're going to start at 1 inch, and you're scoring on the outside of your cut line only. 2 inches outside of your cut line only. 4 1/4 inches, and you're scoring in the middle of your cut lines only. And then 5 1/4 inches, which is the last set of score lines, you're back to the outside only, okay? I'm gonna move this out of the way now. And all you're going to do is fold the card. So you can see, I'll do that again so you can see. So this first piece is going to get folded down. Then these lines are coming up. And as you do that, you see that the card starts to take shape already. So this bottom piece kind of shapes like a mountain. And then as you press it in, these two come up. And that forms the shell of your card. And it is definitely time for me to change my trimming blade because all of my edges are fuzzy where I've cut. Anyways, so super simple. I will try to do a written explanation as well, but I felt like doing the visual was going to be a lot more helpful than me just writing it out. So now I will go ahead and I'll give you the measurements for your layers for the sides and the front as well as the inside, just in case you want to put it in. So I'm going to move this out of the way and I'm going to bring this one back in. So my card base was cherry cobbler, and my layers, my first set of layers were in Sahara sand. Find my tool here so I can do some pointing. So these side layers, the cardstock measures 1 inch by 3 inches, and you can kind of see it goes all the way down there. So these are 1 inch by 3 inches, and then again I'll write this all out for you. The DSP is slightly smaller at 3/4 of an inch by 2 3/4 of an inch. So one more time, cardstock is 1 inch by 3 inches. Designer series paper, 3/4 of an inch. by 2 3/4 of an inch. And you're going to need those same measurements for both sides. This bottom portion, the cardstock layer, was 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/4 inches. So 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. The designer series paper was 1/2 by 5 inches. So one more time, 1/2 by 5 inches. My layers here, the Sahara sand was 2 3/4 by 3 1/8. So 2 3/4 by 3 1/8. My white cardstock that I stamped on was 2 1/2 by 2 7/8. So 2 1/2 by 2 7/8. My cat has made her usual appearance. You can see her foot there on my paper. My inside cardstock pieces, and I just did a little extra stamping here, but it's light enough that you could write over it. So this one measures 4 inches. 4 inches by 2 3/4. So 4 inches by 2 3/4. And then the white cardstock measures 3 3/4 inches by 2 1/2 inches. So one more time on that. 4 inches by 2 3/4. 3 3/4 by 2 1/2. Okay. If you missed that, as I said, I'm going to type it all out so you'll have your measurements written. You can go back and start and stop the video as you need to get them again if you're more auditory than visual. Oh, and I bent my... And again, this video was just intended to show you the basics of making the center step card base. This was not to recreate the whole card. So much simpler than it actually looks. If you have any questions or need clarification, please drop me a comment and I will respond fairly quickly to answer anything. And I certainly am not the creator of this card fold. This has been done numerous times, so I'm sure there are other helpful videos out there as well. You can just search center step card tutorial. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I really hope that this helped you understand how to make this amazing card. And until next time, happy stamping. Bye.